spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitt Show. And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitt Show right here on Talk Radio 1080. Myself, your host, Jay Pitts, here with my co-host, Ryan Harris. Ryan, what's up, man?
What's up?
Dude.
Not a lot going on. Weather's good.
Yeah, yes. Sunshine, mild temperatures, we're
starting to feel like Derby.
It's like the weather, the most pleasant 2 months of weather that we get all year.
And then it'll just rain on Derby Day.
And it'll probably rain on Derby Day. And then like after Derby, it'll be like 87 and humid for the rest of summer.
Yeah, I'm really, really hoping we get perfect weather for the Derby Marathon.
No personal investment there. Not at all.
I am running in it, first marathon.
Okay.
And I've been running it. It's been cold weather. Even like mornings lately, it's still been a little chilly. You got to wear gloves. Like, it's the one thing I've learned training for this and running is you can be cold, but your hands can't be cold. That's tough. So I really, I haven't ran a lot when it's super hot. I'd rather it be raining than super hot, to be honest.
Well, I'm with you there. I have a very limited, my body type does not lend itself to long distance running, but I actually have completed a marathon. It was not a fast
Yeah, that's
time.
a good story.
Dude, I don't know. I think if you can run your first marathon in Louisville, not trying to discourage people from running in Louisville, it's hard. It's very hard. But if you can run your first marathon in Louisville, you can run one anywhere. I mean, now, obviously, up a mountain or something, high altitude, something like that, breathing and that kind of thing. But Louisville's tough because the majority of the participants are mini marathoners, 12, half the mileage, and then, 13.1 on the mini and 26.2. So when you turn right, and everybody else turns left, it gets a little mentally daunting.
It's really the road less traveled.
It is the road less traveled. So that's how I did it. I had a rough experience on the back half, but I did finish. And I will say it was the hottest day. I had not had even a training run on a day within 5 to 8 degrees of what it was race day. And that had some contribution to my troubles.
I've heard you say the Louisville athletic director is a big runner, right?
He is. Runs with a good friend of mine from back home.
Nice.
So, yep. Yeah, he's a very accomplished runner, I will tell you. And if he can run with my buddy Chad, Chad is like the guy up front with the pros with the watch, that you see.
I have a watch too.
But do you stand at the very front of the line with your hand on the stopwatch ready to take off when the horn blasts?
Not at all.
That's him. He's I'm back there with the 9-minute milers.
Yeah. That's fast for me. Come on.
Well, for a marathon, that's great.
Yeah.
And that's what I tried to train at. That was also part of my problem is I went out way too fast. I did great for the mini and awful for the back half.
I have so much respect for these marathon runners that do it incredibly fast. One of my buddies from Bellarmine, I graduated, Chris Striegel, just got inducted to the Bellarmine Hall of Fame.
Nice.
He did the Triple Crown. I think he ran his 15K. I think it's 5K, 10K, 15K.
For the Triple Crown?
Yeah.
Are they not doing a 10-miler anymore?
Maybe they do. I don't know. He's running at a low 5 pace, though. Or even
stupid.
Yeah, it's insane. So
he run Boston?
I'm sure he has before. Yeah. But I'm not sure about this year.
So interesting connection, and I don't want to get way too far off. I have a guy that I played baseball with at Bellarmine, another Bellarmine alum, that actually qualified and is running Boston, and he's a blind marathoner. He has an eye disease that has advanced in adulthood. He was a pitcher on the baseball team. He could see everything.
Does he live in Louisville?
Lives in Louisville. His name's Joe Burkett.
He might have ran by me a few weeks ago.
But he is incredibly fast. And, to qualify, I don't know the exact time, but you have to be sub 3 hour, to qualify for Boston.
Yeah, which is better than a 7-minute pace.
Dude, I mean, I'm going to look that up because I need to know. But yeah, he runs, I think he runs with a partner. that kind of helps him
I had
navigate.
somebody run by me the other day, and their bib on the back said "blind runner," but they weren't with anybody. So
Yeah, well, I don't know because he can see, but like he doesn't see like black. He sees like vague, fuzzy.
yeah, and I'll say they didn't run by me; they flew by me. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so the Boston Marathon qualifying times for 2023, according to Google, of course, 3 hours flat for 18 to 34-year-olds.
Don't you know ChatGPT is the new Google?
Dude, it logs me out so often. I've got a really funny story for that. We'll have to come back to that. Yeah. I've got a great ChatGPT story. I was telling Hannah yesterday. Good stuff.
All right, let's talk about the show topics.
Sure.
We're going to do story from the field. We just did a running topic that wasn't planned. We're going to talk millennials, officially a generation of homeowners, not renters. 3 outdated pieces of home buying advice from 2020 to ditch this spring. Going to talk a little prop tech news and get into some random questions for you. So we'll start a story from the field. This agent says, "What are pre-foreclosures on Zillow?" They're a new agent, and they said, "I have a client who constantly wants to look at pre-foreclosures, and I need to know what to tell them."
Yeah. So the pre-foreclosure, this is just another example. We've talked about Zillow before on this. Just another example of Zillow finding creative ways to give homeowners or would-be homeowners, shoppers, information that they wouldn't have had access to otherwise. So basically, a pre-foreclosure is kind of an overgeneralized term. They had to select something to signify what the listing that you're viewing, what status it's in. Basically, a pre-foreclosure is any property that had a lis pendens, okay, LIS space PENDENS, lis pendens, which is Latin for pending action or pending legal action. So it is a term we use for any time a property is encumbered by some type of lawsuit. Okay, a lis pendens, and specifically, it names the action in the legal document that is filed. So what Zillow is doing is picking up public record that a legal action has been filed against the property. Now, I haven't examined these or verified them. I would say that you may even, like, let's say you had a waterproofing contractor come out to your house and waterproof your basement, and then you didn't pay them, okay? Or you left owing them money. So you paid them an installment, but you didn't finish up. And their recourse is to file a legal action or a lien on your property. That would technically be a lis pendens. Now, I don't know if Zillow picks those up or if they're detailed enough to like filter out, because that's not a pre-foreclosure, right? That's basically like the contractor can't foreclose on your house for payment on a bill that you owe. But a bank can. A bank can file a lis pendens against your property, which is a notice of foreclosure that says that they're going to file if you don't pay your mortgage. Now, you can technically be in foreclosure. Technically, you are able to be in foreclosure when you're more than 30 days late on a single mortgage payment in most cases. So does every bank file like that? No. Do most banks file like that? No. Most don't. In fact, rarely do they file that soon. It's usually more like 3 payments behind that they'll start initiating legal action. But once it gets filed, Zillow picks that up with these online land record databases, and they pull it over and show it on their site, even though they have no indication whatsoever that this property is actually going to end up in foreclosure. It could be like somebody's traveling internationally, they forget, slips their mind, they can't be contacted by the bank. Bank's like, hey, you didn't pay your payment. Hey, you didn't pay your second payment. Hey, you didn't pay your third payment. And you get back from being out of the country for 3 months and you go, oh, I didn't pay my mortgage, and you write a check immediately. Well, that lis pendens is still of record. It can get released, but it still got filed, and your house is probably going to show up on Zillow.
Yeah, and these people don't even know their homes are on Zillow either.
They don't even know in a lot of cases. They may know that they've missed a few payments. They probably the example I just cited is pretty unlikely. But I could tell you that they may be working with the bank to do a modification. They may be working on a payment plan to try to get back current. They may be in forbearance. We had a lot of that happen during COVID. there's a lot of things that could happen that could lead to a list pendants getting filed and Zillow picking up your house as a pre-foreclosure. There is no indication whatsoever that property will ever be for sale.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a lead generation source for Zillow.
Exactly.
That usually leads to pretty poor leads. Is that fair to say?
I think so, and it frustrates agents because it's a black hole that you end up tumbling down, and usually you don't think to proactively prepare your client for this, landmine that they're going to step on. And so agents that aren't great at communicating sometimes they all run the risk of looking like they're being lazy, or they have some incentive not to provide the information. Well, Zillow said, well, actually Zillow doesn't know.
Yeah, it's tough for even agents that do communicate well, because a lot of times those agents just want to help anybody they're talking to, a lead. They might have a question. Like, the best agents help who they're talking to. Yeah. And a lot of times in these situations, when you get a call about a pre-foreclosure, you can't really help them, and there's really not a ton you can tell them other than, hey, this is Zillow generating leads. There's really no way to get in contact with these people.
You go knock on their door.
Yeah, it's tough for bad agents and good agents.
But do you want to be the one that knocks on the door of somebody who's going through financial distress and run the risk of, finding yourself in a weird spot? That's tough. That's tough.
If you find an agent that does that for you, they're a good agent.
Hang on to them.
Power to them.
Hang on to them.
So, we're going to cut to a couple sponsors. It's the Jay Pitts Show, Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. I'm your co-host, Ryan Harris. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show, Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. I'm your co-host, Ryan Harris, with Jay Pitts. Jay, what's going on?
Dude, I have to keep, I know we're going to get into prop tech here in a minute, but I think I have to tell you this ChatGPT story.
All right, let's do it.
So, 4.0 supposedly came out and made some improvements, right? So, I realize that it does not have internet access, and that there's a date at which it does not have current information, right?
It's getting much better at that, though.
It is. And so I was just goofing around one day, and I decided to ask ChatGPT who Jay Pitts was. And I made the question like a little obtuse, so I was like, what do you know about Jay Pitts? And to which it replied, there's likely many people named Jay Pitts. And I said, okay, so I'm going to start feeding it information. And I said, okay, he's a real estate broker in Louisville, Kentucky. And so the funny thing is, it just kept going on. And the best part of that, the answer to that one, he's a real estate broker in Louisville, Kentucky. And it says, okay, I found one,
I found one
that's a real estate broker in Louisville, Kentucky. And it says, it's possible that Jay Pitts is successful and well respected in the Louisville area, but I'm afraid I cannot provide further information without details or context. And so I asked, is he with Remax? Based on my search, I was able to find a Jay Pitts who's an associate with Remax. Wrong Remax office, by the way. First mistake. Okay. And to which I responded, I thought he was the owner of a Remax office. I'm sorry for the confusion. Yes, he is the owner of Remax Premier Properties. So kind of funny. It goes on to say, as a successful real estate broker, Jay Pitts has received many awards and recognitions throughout his career, include being recognized as blah, blah, blah. I think that pulls from a bio somewhere I have on the internet, because that language, it's scraping, and that language sounds quite familiar. And to which I then responded, I thought he ran the #1 real estate in Kentucky. Based on my research, Jay Pitts is the founder of the Jay Pitts Real Estate Team, which is affiliated with Remax Premier Properties, which I've already fed it before. And they are consistently ranked as the #1 team in Kentucky and one of the top real estate teams in the country. Okay. All right. I'm with you here. So I decided to ask, who are some members of Jay's team? To which it responds with 5 completely inaccurate names. I have no idea who these people are. It even has titles. It has a director of operation whom I've never heard, a transaction coordinator I've never heard, and 3 buyer's agents who I've never heard of. I don't even think these people are realtors.
So they weren't even on the team ever.
So they were never on the team. It's not just not current. Okay, so I respond, which, again, I think this is a rabbit hole worth going down, because I think it's really funny. I said,
if you're listening to, follow Jay on social media, and there's going to be short clips of this posted, and what he's talking about will probably
show up on the social media. So I said, actually, none of those people are on J Pitts, nor have they ever been. And by the way, the team is JT Pitts and Associates, or JTPA for short. To which it then starts.
It's good at apologizing,
referring to it as JTPA, which I thought was hilarious. But it apologizes for providing previously inaccurate information and then gives me 5 more completely inaccurate names. And I said, none of those members are accurate. And it apologizes again and says, without up-to-date information, it's unable to answer correctly. Which I'm gonna land the plane here. But the truth is, I finally tell it that those are not accurate, nor have they ever been, and it's not a matter of recency, that they are relying on incorrect information or incorrect sources. It apologizes again and gives me a third set of incorrect names. Okay. And finally I find that I'm really just running circles.
Starting to get angry.
I'm starting to get frustrated with it. And so I feed it the correct names and asked ChatGPT to remember it for future reference. So I haven't gone back and tried asking again to see if it would get it correct. But the funny thing is that the inaccuracies are literally explained away in just very canned responses. And I've often found in the work we've done with ChatGPT is that it is literally people ask me, well, don't you think that this is going to disrupt schools and kids are never going to write papers again? I think there's a whole new set of skills, right, that need to be developed for people. Manipulate is probably not the right word, but how to interact with AI to produce accurate results, because a lot of the stuff you can give you is garbage. But if you know how to work this thing, it can give you incredible results.
Yeah, I firmly believe the best teachers right now are the ones telling their students to use it and teaching them.
Yeah.
It's interesting. The CEO of Simba, the company I'm a co-founder of, he spoke at UK a couple weeks ago and asked these college students, how many of you all use ChatGPT? And only one raised their hand, and he doesn't know if it's they said their teacher told them to not use it. So maybe they're using it and didn't want the teacher to know they're using it and didn't raise their hand. But he told them, screw that. You need to use it. It's powerful. It's not going away.
Yeah.
Use to learn it to your benefit. So
no, I firmly believe that it's a skill to be developed.
Yeah.
There's going to be AI engineers. There's going to be an AI engineer job at companies that basically his job is to manipulate AI to get results for the company.
Facebook Meta, their job postings right now, it was a bunch of metaverse job postings in it, and those are down significantly, and now it's AI that they're hiring for.
Of course.
So metaverse is gone. See ya. All right, let's get into this article here. That's cool though. I love ChatGPT. We'll talk about a lot more, and it's going to get better fast. But
it will.
All right, this article here says Millennials officially a generation of homeowners, not renters. We've talked about the different generations and home ownership and how it might affect things in the future. But this article says millennial homeowners outnumbered millennial renters for the first time last year, despite creeping interest rates in a tight real estate market. Driving the news, nearly 52% of first generation to grow up in the internet age, people born from 1981 to 1996, were homeowners in 2022. So,
yeah. This is not news to me. It's nice to see that, this is Axios. But becoming more mainstream narrative that the millennials are literally driving all aspects of the residential real estate market.
Yeah, it's not surprising too it took this long to happen. 1981 to 1996, it is one generation, but it's a pretty big gap. We've talked about it, millennials, but you were born when?
I was born in 1981.
And I was 1995, so...
There you go. So, share of buyers by age, according to the, Zillow, National Consumer Report on real estate, you've got 18 to 29-year-olds make up 17% of all buyers. They make up 21% of all U.S. adults. So, I mean, that basically tells you that there's a 4% delta. There's really 4%, okay, are renting. You know, the 30 to 39 demo, right, that they show on this same report that I just pulled up from Zillow shows 26% of buyers are 30 to 39. I mean, they're dominating. I mean, and, you know, even 40, you know, that's about as high as it goes. So, I mean, you add those two together, it's 26 and 17. That's a third of the market.
Yeah, you know what I was really wondering when I was reading this is I was like, okay, now millennials are a generation of homeowners, but at what average age did older generations become a generation of homeowners and not renters?
Yeah.
And the article actually talked about that. They said the average millennial bought their first home at 34, slightly older than the average age of past generations when boomers took the keys at 33 and Gen X at 32. So it's really not that much of a difference.
Dude, I mean, they're 43% of all buyers, right? They're 28% of all sellers. So it's not even first-time home buyers anymore necessarily, you know? I mean, yeah, the younger generation, for sure, the younger part of the millennial generation, for sure, they're their first time, maybe slightly late to the party kind of home buyers. But man, I mean, it's going to be this way. Like Gen X is such a small generation that, you know, numbers wise, millennials are the force of the United States economy, not just the housing market. So, I mean, this really doesn't surprise me. I'm with it.
Yeah,
I can't believe it says it for the first time though. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I saw it a few articles too. So
well,
maybe not. But it's only 52% of them are homeowners now. So they're still considered the generation of renters, and probably will be for a while. Yeah. It's going to be very interesting to see if Gen Z is ever going to be a generation of homeowners over renters.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I do not identify a lot with Gen Z. I'm gonna have to, like, I don't even think my kids are technically Gen Z. So,
what do you think the Gen Z years are? Don't look at our cheat sheet.
I don't. I mean, I know it's
so 1997 to what? I guess if it's all the same year,
it's about
segments,
15 years.
Yeah, so 2013. So it's like they basically say Gen Z owns the least amount of homes, but no wonder some of them are the youngest. One of them is 10.
10. I mean, that's my brother. My oldest son is 10 years old. Like, I mean, he is technically Gen Z. Well, he's very different than his siblings, so we'll see. Maybe he is Gen Z. Oh Lord. All right. Well, what else we got, man?
I think that's it for this segment. We can cut to a couple show sponsors, and we'll be back on the Jay Pitts Show. I'm your co-host Ryan Harris, Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. See you in a bit.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. I'm your host, Jay Pitts, here with Ryan Harris. Ryan, I think we're going to talk
There's a couple things we could talk about.
Outdated real estate advice?
Yeah, let's do that. I enjoy these, and we can give our opinions of what the article said, because we know and talked about, we don't always agree with everything. And some of these articles giving homeowners advice.
Yeah, I don't know about this website. I've never heard of apartmenttherapy.com, but
let me tell you, I use this app called Artifact.
Yeah.
So the Instagram co-founders, original ones, it's their startup, and it is curated news based off things you like. And I've used other apps for that before. This is by far the best one. Okay. It is awesome.
So it just fishes articles out for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It gives me real estate, residential real estate news, golf news, just sports in general, anything I'm interested in. And it really is getting better with time. So I would think like the algorithm's just as good as Twitter's. But it's feeding me articles that I do enjoy to read. So if you want to use Artifact, I suggest it's cool. It's where I get a lot of the info for this show.
All right, cool.
And of course, I clicked on one article of the one you just talked about, that website.
Yeah.
Got like 5 or 6 things from them now, just on Twitter and stuff. But
yeah. Well, you leave breadcrumbs all over the internet, so they always know where to find you.
Oh yeah, they're out there.
So what's outdated? Let's hear it. You want to pose it to me and then me to give commentary?
Yeah, I'll pose it to you. So article is 3 outdated pieces of home buying advice. Number 1, send a love letter with your offer. I think this has been outdated for a while. Well, illegal.
Well, it borders on illegal for sure. If it's done improperly, it certainly can violate fair housing. I think offering this as a real estate professional, offering this as advice to your clients is incredibly risky. As a buyer, I think it can be effective, but I think that without the information that makes it problematic from a fair housing perspective, it's almost pointless. So I would rather just make my offer better. I would rather figure out what is preferable in terms of the terms that the seller is looking for and try to tailor my offer surrounding those.
Let me ask you this. If you're a listing agent and you get an offer
with a love letter,
does that make you think the buying agent doesn't know how to
it worries me.
Set expectations or control what they need to as a buying agent?
It's one of two things. They're either ignorant of the problems that it poses for a seller, and I'll outright tell a buyer's agent that I will not present a love letter. A love letter is not an offer. I am not required by law to present it. You can make it an addendum to your offer, in which case I would be required to present it. But I think I'd probably take my chances with the Kentucky Real Estate Commission over the federal government, right? Because listen, if you as a buyer's agent make your love letter an addendum to the contract, and there are fair housing violations, and you're baiting my seller into committing a fair housing violation by requiring me to present it, I'd rather have my hand slapped by the state regulatory commission than get my life ruined by getting dragged before a federal court on violation of fair housing charges, right? So of course I would never violate those. I'm really talking about a situation where someone is trying to force me to violate them.
Yeah. Also, why are they called a love letter?
It's I love your house. Please sell it to me.
Love me.
I have, all these beautiful things about my life that you should feel sympathy and connection to. I'm not even going to say what they are, because if I say what those things are, then that is essentially just saying what the fair housing violation. I mean, like any description of you personally, any description of your familial status, right? Of your age, of any sort of disability that you might have. You're essentially telling the seller that they should favor your offer because of those personal preferences that you have, those choices that you've made, which are different than the choices that others make, and therefore your choice is better than their choices, which is why we have fair housing laws to begin with. So incredibly problematic.
Yeah. So outdated.
Yes.
Always has been.
Always has been. Never been a fan.
Yep. All right. Number 2, don't ask for any concessions. Guess explain what are concessions first.
Concessions is typically asking the seller for something, right? It could be a price concession, right? That's probably not what they're mentioning here. They're probably asking for buyer's closing costs to be paid by the seller. They're probably talking about, leave your washer and dryer, leave the pool furniture, right? Leave the basketball goal, right? The $5,000 basketball.
This reminded me of something we were talking about, talking on here. At what age are you too old to ask people to move?
To help you move.
We were just talking about. We talked about
18.
that off the show. Yeah,
I don't want to ask anybody to move ever. I think that's the worst.
Like
thing.
It's
like picking me up from the
yourself,
airport. I think you asked me about that too. Picking me up at the airport is another one. I don't want to pick you. You have the Uber app. Take care of it.
If it's like a friend coming in for the weekend and they're just there and you don't have much going on, fine. You're probably excited to go. But
we're going straight to dinner from the airport or something. I don't know.
But if you just left somewhere and then you're coming back to Louisville and don't want to get Uber, not doing it.
If I'm like staying with you at your house in a city that you live in and you want to pick me up, okay, maybe. But I'll probably still just Uber to meet you.
Yeah. But, all right, that second one, don't ask for any concessions. I would say depends.
Yeah, I mean, concessions work, but I will say that the market is still very fast and the best listings are still selling above list price. So the seller has all the leverage. The more you ask for, the less likely they are to get your offer accepted.
Yeah. I'd say for Louisville, it's mostly outdated. Rest of the country, maybe not so.
Maybe not. West Coast, definitely start asking for concessions. Those markets are stagnant.
Yeah. All right. Third one, it's an interesting one. Rely on your agent and top listing sites to find eager sellers. So it's basically, the article is saying, go act like a savvy agent and try to find
Off-market deals.
Off-market deals.
Well, number one, sellers are not eager. Okay, sellers are not eager. Sellers are patient right now because sellers have all the leverage. I could understand maybe there's an abundance of realtors and most of them are not good. So yeah, don't rely on a bad realtor to do something special for you. If you have a great agent, then absolutely rely on that person.
That's what they're there for.
It's what they're there for. The truth is, you're probably not, no matter how good or aggressive you or your agent are, you're probably not going to find an off-market opportunity because every seller out there knows that it's prime conditions for sellers, right? They know that the market did not crash when interest rates doubled, okay? And they know that it may take a little longer, but that they can ask pretty much whatever they want and probably will get it within reason. So, fewer people are asking for silly numbers. They're more asking for reasonable numbers. And you probably don't have to find an off-market property to buy a great house. You just have to be patient and make a great offer when something comes up.
Yeah, completely agree. I say it's probably outdated. Real quick, I want to start talking about, or you have something?
Yeah, I got okay. One. Escalation clauses are outdated.
Yeah. I think those always have been.
They always have been. Make your best offer. Don't say, I'll only make my best offer if another competing offer comes in that forces me to make my best offer. Please don't do that.
I heard something, an agent in the office said whenever they get an escalation clause, they just counter back at the highest price.
That was probably me.
Because they basically told you what they are willing to pay.
Yeah. So why would you do anything different? Yeah. All outdated. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. We'll start talking about this and we'll probably bleed into the next segment. But I have a gripe with this, Jay. Real Messenger. Have you heard of Real Messenger?
I don't know that I have.
Okay. So it's a startup company. Frederick Eklund for $1 million listing is one of the co-founders and the chief creative officer. I have a problem with this. So Real Messenger is a social platform redefining the way we consume real estate content and focus on reinstating joy to the real estate journey. I'm not sure if you can tell. I'm kind of being sarcastic with my voice. And Nova Vision Acquisition, a special purpose acquisition company, SPAC for short, today announced a definitive business combination agreement that will result in Real Messenger becoming a publicly traded company. The proposed transaction will have a potential pre-money enterprise value of approximately $150 million at closing.
Wow. I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Was it you that were telling me that they had a really bumpy rollout?
Yeah, I will get into more of the details of why I have a problem with this on the next segment. But, the first time I heard Frederick talk about this app, and I had heard about it before, but, my company Simba is a tech company in the real estate space, trying to do something really awesome for real estate agents. And we were in LA at this conference that was thrown by NAR, IOI pitch competition. They were the lead sponsor, and he was on stage talking about it. And I'll be completely honest, I'm not scared to say this. It didn't sound like he really knew even much about his own app or what it was doing. Got in trouble actually on stage for talking about pocket listings, which are illegal, and something about how the app could help. But I'll get into more of why I have issues with this after we cut to a couple sponsors. We'll be back on the Jay Pitts Show, Talk Radio 1080, Real News, Real Talk. I'm your co-host Ryan Harris with Jay Pitts.
Hey, we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. I'm going to throw it back to Ryan. Ryan was talking about this Real Messenger app here and the launch. And so, Ryan, I know you've got some issues with this. Let's let's talk about what Real Messenger does.
Well, honestly, I don't know what it does. I have downloaded it. It says it's a social platform for real estate, redefining the real estate industry. Agents can create accounts and post their listings and info on it, which you can do on every other social platform. So here's the main problem, though. They say they have 350,000 downloads. Guess they spent $12 million to build their app. $12 million, 350,000 downloads. They only have 29 reviews in the App Store. 29 reviews and 350,000 downloads. So our app Simba, significantly less downloads, and we are working our butts off, done this way cheaper, trying to build something for real estate agents. We have 29 reviews in the App Store, and they're going public at $150 million valuation via SPAC, and we saw how SPACs performed in the last couple of years. So
yeah. Man, I think it's the culture, the influence culture that we have. Like, I mean, Frederick's a big name. He's on television.
He is.
He's a big personality. Somebody tapped him as the face of this company. And
I have no doubt he's a good agent, too, and knows what he's doing.
Well, I mean, I think he's had some success. I wonder how credible these real estate television personalities are. I've never been incredibly impressed when I've met a number of them in person. But I mean that's probably not fair because I don't know them.
Yeah, I mean, really just the fishiest thing looking at this is 350,000 downloads and 29 reviews for, I think it was 3 stars in the App Store. So we'll see how that goes.
Average of 3 stars on 29 reviews. Like, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, so I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah.
Interested to see what happens. I think there's way better companies out there.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
So, all right, we'll move on from that. Let's talk about, you just spoke in Nashville not too long ago. It was great. You did phenomenal. Thought you handled everything that went on well. And
yeah, it was interesting. It was the Empower Conference, the first conference put on by a young lady by the name of Kellyanne Harris, who is a Keller Williams team lead, office owner, investor type. Impressive individual. I've known of Kellyanne for quite some time. I first had the opportunity to meet her when she asked me through a mutual friend to speak at this conference, which I was humbled. I mean, it's her first one she's putting on. She's only probably got 8 or 9 speakers. And she thought enough of me to ask me to be one of those. And not just like, a panel sit and like Q&A, like, command the stage kind of situation. So it was a bumpy start. We had some AV issues. That's what Ryan's alluding to.
You rocked right through it, though.
Well, I mean, the thing that I think they did very well was they had big ambitions. It was a small stage, but it was a stage. Massive screen behind the stage. Really cool AV. Walk up music. I got to
talk about the song.
I got to strut up there to the John Cena walk up song, which is my son's 10U baseball walk up song. If you're not familiar with the travel ball scene, we have massive speakers and these kids, these little boys pick these rap musics, these songs, like hype them up when they walk up to the plate.
How big are the bags they pull behind them now?
Well, Preston's got a backpack, and they have these little things where the bats like stick in the sides. The catchers pull these bags that are like massive with all the equipment and stuff. It's pretty funny. But no, I got to rock the Time Is Now John Cena walk up song and get on stage, and there was some snafu. Some my speaker notes weren't there, which if you've not spoken on stage, they have a screen at the foot of the stage. You have the big screen behind you got a big screen in the back of the room, so you can see your slide. But like if you have like most of the time when you're doing like a 30 or 45 minute talk, you've got some bullet points that you want to just kind of use to kind of mark certain segments of your story. I don't speak a lot. I do tend to have notes. I can talk, but if I want to stay on topic and make sure that I bring something in on time, I need a little bit of a roadmap because I don't have a ton of experience. So that's all I wanted, and it wasn't there. No big deal. They scrambled. They got it on. Got it up, and then the mic went bad. So if you can't tell from listening to my voice right now, I probably didn't need a mic in the first place, but they were recording it, so they wanted me to use a mic. So she brings me a handheld mic, but I've got the lav earpiece mic that's just like literally hanging in my shirt. Then a couple of slides were missing, dude. It was just, and so I just kind of had to make light of it. And I have no fear of being on stage whatsoever. A little bit bigger crowd maybe than that. It was about 100 and some odd people in the room.
You've spoken in front of, what's the most people you've spoken
like
in front
500
of?
probably.
Was that the Remax with the CEO?
Remax convention. I did about a room with about 500. And now I've done panels in front of many more than that, but that's just not just you alone on stage, right? You alone on stage is much more daunting than like a panel, a Q&A panel, when you're up there with 2 or 3 people and then there's a moderator. I've done that probably in front of thousands, but yeah.
I've heard speakers say that after a certain amount of people, I don't know what the number is, but when you can't really make out individual faces in the crowd, it doesn't matter how many is there.
It doesn't. And I will say this, Ryan, the stage matters a lot. I actually was happy with that few, relatively few, like 100, to have a stage low to the floor, right? To be able to make eye contact with people and draw people in, because you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to draw people in. You have to be able to make people feel what you're trying to convey. Okay. And, if you're too far removed from the crowd, or you got this spotlight in your face, it makes it really hard. And I have a ton of respect for big time speakers that sit in rooms of 10,000 where you don't have a clue who's in the audience. It's hard to make a connection. You can hear a pin drop. They've got this huge spotlight in their face. The stage is 5 feet off the ground. That's tough. That's tough, because intimacy is what you're really after when you're speaking to a group.
Yeah, no, I thought you did awesome. It was cool to be there, so kudos to you.
Yeah.
Leads really well into the next question I had for you, actually.
Sure.
Do you pull inspiration from other entrepreneurs, or even just like other public speakers whenever you go do public speaking? Like, do you use inspiration from others for what you do?
Yeah, for sure. For this show, I mean, the way that we talk, the way that I bring us back from a commercial break is probably something I've heard and adopted from like an amalgamation of like different podcasts that I listen to, or radio shows, or, you hear something on, Terry Miner's show that you think, oh, that works well. Like, I can do that. If it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me. We call this the R&D, right? The rip off and duplicate segment of, I just, and I have this brain that kind of absorbs that information and kind of reforms it for myself. Yeah. Books. Yeah. Some authors I enjoy. I'm more of a current media article kind of website reader, like, than I'm not a like a self-help book kind of guy.
Maybe anymore.
At one point I read a lot of Malcolm Gladwell. I really enjoyed Outliers. I think that was an incredible book. A Tipping Point was another great book by Malcolm Gladwell. Things that I think move society are really interesting to me. Other speakers, for sure. I would tell you, Tom Ferry is a big influence for me. I watch him just because I know him well and I've been close to him. And the way he moves a crowd, I know he gets his influence a lot from Tony Robbins. So it's kind of like, indirect.
I love when they always have those clips of him before going on stage and he's jumping on the trampoline. I think that's something I would need.
Dude, he has a mini trampoline and he's just trying to get his heart rate up, man. He's just trying to get, he asked for a lot of participation. You
think that's because when you get your heart rate up and you go on stage, your heart rate can only go up so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you don't walk out there and
he just wants good energy is what he wants. Okay. If he's a drag, right? Like, his job is to lift you up. It's not to let you pull him down. So that's I think important to keep energy. You have to be the most energetic person in the room, because if you're not, no one will listen to you. And think about them. They're sitting in the safety and silence and darkness of like the back of the room, whereas you're up in lights in front and you have to move them to feel something. Like, so if you noticed in the talk in Nashville, I asked for permission to be vulnerable. I don't know if you recall that, but I asked for permission to be vulnerable. And what did everyone say? Absolutely. Yeah. Vocal, audible, yes. response.
It's also a great question because nobody's going to say, please do not be vulnerable.
Please don't. Please don't. No, I said I need permission. We need to stay in rapport. That's a direct line from Tom Ferry. Hey, we need to stay in rapport, so I need your permission. Can I be vulnerable with you right now? And they say, of course.
Is this something you've always been able to do, or have you had to learn how to do this a little bit?
You definitely have to learn. I'm not perfect at it. I am comfortable, which helps, because if you're nervous, everyone else is nervous.
I'll say I think that's one thing Bellarmine did well. You went to Bellarmine. Almost every class we were in, it was small enough.
Yep.
Really, whatever class it was, you had to public speak at some point. But the good thing is now you're talking about something you care about.
No, I do care about it, and that is helpful. I've definitely had to learn my way of preparation. My way of preparation is like blitz at the last minute. Like, I'll prepare thoughts, but like the actual words, the talking points, the markers that I have to hit, the timing, I have to just drill it like 5, 6, 7 times. So like I went down a day early, went to a speaker's dinner, went back to the room, ran it 3 times, 30-minute talk, an hour and a half, like bang, 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 improve things each time, making notes, get up the next morning, do it 2 more times, right? Another hour, then go to breakfast, get something in my stomach, go down there, get a lay of the land, and then I'm on stage 30 minutes after that. Like, that's how it had to happen. And nothing else is going to get done that morning except this. It has to be number one.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
anyway.
All right, I think that's it, Jay. You want to sign us out?
That's all we got, folks. We appreciate you tuning in, as always, to the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. For Ryan Harris, my co-host, and myself, Jay Pitts, again, we thank you. Don't forget, you can find this episode anywhere you podcast, and tune in here every Saturday at 9 a.m. for the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. Real talk, real news, real talk. Got that backwards. We'll see you soon.
See you next week.